Hi, guys. Thanks for joining me today. I have a guest, Joshua Shapiro, and we're going to talk about crystal skulls and all kinds of interesting stuff. How's it going, Joshua?
It's going good. Here's an example of a crystal skull. This is lapis lazuli. This was a gift that was given to me by a friend who bought one of our books. Well, there may be a dog that comes by, so don't let that
It's a,
bother you.
it's all right.
This one we call the rabbi. I don't know if you can see this, but it looks like there's a little yarmulke or skull cap on the top. And that's what the person who shared this skull gave. And it was because of a book I wrote about my looking for a blue skull in Peru, not this one, a different one. And she just felt inspired to send it. So it kind of came like an early birthday gift. So we just call it the rabbi. But this is an example of a crystal skull. If any of your viewers aren't sure, what are we talking about? We're just talking about these skulls made out of different types of minerals, gemstones. The first ones that came out, like in the 1800s, mid 1800s, were quartz crystal. So that seems to be, the most important, very old skulls were quartz crystal. And for people who work with quartz crystal, they know it works with all kinds of different frequencies of energy. Okay, I'm going to put the rabbi down because he's a little bit heavy, and I'm 67 and my hands shake, and I don't want to be too embarrassed. So that's what crystal skulls are about. So for me, I just call myself a crystal skull explorer because, oh, and we'll come to what you're showing in a moment here, because, I don't claim that I have all the answers for the crystal skulls, but I'm an Aries. So anybody who knows Aries knows that when something gets us really excited and interested, we can't stop. We got to give 100% and go into it. And so I've been involved with investigating the crystal skull since I met my first one in 1983, which is an amethyst crystal skull known as a me. So unfortunately, I put all my books away. No, wait, hold on a second. I think I have a book here that might have a picture of it.
Great.
Please, I do. Thank God. You see, if you
Well, let me,
follow your intuition, so this is, you see the amethyst skull there?
wow.
So that's the first one I met. It's about 8 pounds. It was found in Mexico in the ruins of an ancient city. And the prior guardian had passed away, but he was a good friend of mine named El Ramirez. He called it a me, which means friend. So this is an example of a very old skull. But this is the one that changed my life forever. This is the first one I met. So I always like to honor a me when I can. So that book I was showing is called Travelogue Number 2, Search for the Blue Skull in Peru. So we'll get into that because that's a crystal skull I've had a vision of since the 1990s, which I haven't seen, but I see it around me all the time, like, in my inner vision. So I'm assuming all of the people who watch your show, they're on their own spiritual path. So if I talk about my inner experiences, they won't go, this guy is a Looney Tune. No, he's one of us, you know? So anyway, in 1983, I met a me. First, I met a picture of the skull. My friend at a metaphysical bookstore in San Jose, California, the Ram Metaphysical Bookstore, it's not there anymore, across the street from Rosicrucian Park. She showed this picture to me, and it was like I started vibrating inside. It was like I recognized it.
Hmm.
And then there was an actual earthquake in California, Kalinga, California, which is about, I think, 150 miles south of San Jose. And the table that the picture was on was vibrating quite fiercely. So it's kind of like I call it my inner outer earthquake experience. But then from the picture, and this still happens to me, I get telepathic messages. And the way I get these messages, it's in my thinking mind's voice. Like my thinking mind is like even what I'm talking to you about, it's almost like the words are there before I'm even saying it to you. Okay. And it happens really fast. So I'll get a message and I'll go, I didn't think that. Where did that come from? So when I was looking at the picture of the skull that was causing all these experiences, uh, I heard we are returning to help humanity to have world peace. This is coming through the picture of the amethyst skull. So Joshua, now that you know this, what are you going to do about it? So it's kind of like, that's the message I got. And so I go, me? What do I do? What am I supposed to do? I know of these crystal skulls only through Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World, which is a TV show in the 70s and 80s that always had the famous Mitchell Hedges skull in the beginning. So obviously you know that one, Andy.
Oh yeah.
And so I go, okay, well, we'll see what happens. And then all of a sudden I start meeting more people, start meeting more skulls. My Aries curiosity takes over. And it's like, now people find me. And, like there was a new interview done by two people. One lady was a super soldier who I'm hoping to interview for our center. So you could go ahead and put back that.
Oh sure.
Yeah, so because I want to come back to the center here in a moment. So this is just the logo of my new baby I'm working on. It's called the Center for the Advancement of Humanity. So anyway, two friends sent me this interview where I think they were showing like very old skulls that have like symbols carved on them. Okay, I haven't had a chance to watch the whole thing, but this woman was called a super soldier. So I'm going to try to interview her and ask her more questions on Saturday. We're recording this on a Thursday and find out what that's about. So now let's come to the Center for the Advancement of Humanity, because I'm going to donate all of my books, my information and everything to the center, because I'm 67 and I'm a single guy, and I am Aries and I believe in myself and I like challenges, and I still do a lot of things for a 67-year-old, but it sure would be nice to have a whole team of people, especially young people, to help me when I have all these projects that I can just say, okay, could you do this research? Can you get that information together for me? And then all I have to do is kind of like look at it and see. So the Center for the Advancement of Humanity was an idea that came after I had moved here to the Atlanta area. See, I'm celebrating the Atlanta Braves winning the World Series. I've been here since 2018, but right after we moved here, I met with some friends and we talked about creating this center. And this is the name that came to me. One of the friends supposedly, had access to wealthy people. So I thought, okay, finally, instead of working so hard, volunteering and giving all my time for free to work on these things I believe in, maybe we'll actually have all the resources we need. But it didn't happen. And so, I held on to it. And then in 2022, for a whole month, and this was not COVID, in February, I was kind of sick. I think I was going through a vibrational shift. And then I got a message, Joshua, stop eating animal products, become vegetarian. And now I'm vegan. And if it wasn't for my divine life partner, Katrina, I wouldn't be able to do this because I have no idea what do I eat. And she is very good with food. So she's been supporting me to do this. And I've noticed my telepathy becomes much easier. So in other words, when we have less poisons that we put into our system, our spiritual gifts will become more advanced. So anyway, after this, all of a sudden I start talking to people about the center and start creating its energy. And I go, to create the center the way I'm envisioning, where using every form of media, and we're publishing the best information from a spiritual perspective on everything: crystal skulls, UFO, past history, Tartaria, flat earth, whatever, you name it. We're going to need a lot of resources. And if I start talking to people about this and I have nothing, why are they going to want to support this and believe me? But apparently the energy of the center already exists inside of me, because like I have this vision, and I think you're aware through CC about the redistribution of wealth, the activities that are going on with
Oh
this.
yeah.
Okay. So for the people who don't know of this, and it's because the major media will tell you nothing about what's happening, all right? But the clue that we're seeing, and this came from an interview I did with Mel Carmine, who's like an expert on this new financial system that's coming, the QFS, the J.CROW'S, And also he's a big supporter of XRP, which is supposed to be one of the digital assets. He says, don't call it crypto. It's a digital asset that's going to be used in the new system. He was telling me that all of this stuff is like really in place and coming. So there are many other centers and people who have this vision that they want to create something for humanity. Okay, whether it's a human, how do you say it? Humanitarian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there we go. Or a spiritual based project that will help, the world. And so this is my spiritual humanitarian based project. And I have 40 people on a mailing list now in 10 countries around the world. And I think an 11th one, because through this interview I did with Holly Ciliano, who is very well known for all of this. And it's like, as a result of her video, which has had 16,000 views in less than a week, we have now 800 people on our Rumble video channel for the center. So it's like very miraculous. But what it's showing me is a lot of people are really preparing for this future. A lot of people have their own vision of something that they're here to do, which like they feel like, from their soul, that this is their sole purpose. And I got to see some of these other visions because people were writing to Holly through us and saying, oh, we have this, we're doing this, and so on. So it's going to be an amazing world. So this is my vision that I had, which now is a co-creation with a bunch of other people. And what we're doing is we're holding the energy of the center, okay, even though we don't have any of the resources yet. But Spirit keeps saying, do not worry about it. You are going to be inundated and have more than you know what to do with, because I want to see like sister centers. So my vision is, first, we'll find a building here in the Atlanta area or close to where we are. We're south of Atlanta. Set that up. Then there's a spiritual center here that said they want to be a sister center. So I asked them, can we use your magazine and your online mailing list, and can I send out an invitation to find young people like in their late 20s or 30s who are spiritually orientated to come work for us and be paid, because we will have all the resources, the equipment, the funding, and everything to do it. So this is the vision that I'm seeing. And so I'm holding on to the vision. I don't know exactly when it's going to start, but I feel like on this side, I have an Arcturian, and on this side, I have a Pleiadian, and they have taken a vested interest in this center. Because when I talk about it, one of them will come up and start, saying, remember, talk about this, or they'll bring the energy in. So when I'm discussing it, then all of a sudden, people might say, hey, I'm kind of interested in what Josh is talking about, because we do not need to have people for the center to be working there physically, because once we have the new internet, the quantum internet, I think it's going to be like 3D. So if I talk to, like if we were on the new internet and we were doing the interview, it would look like we're in the same room, sort of like they show on Star Trek, right?
Right.
So it won't make any difference where you live in the world. We'll all be working together. So the whole idea of this center is, of course, embrace the crystal skulls that we've already talked about, and really, when we have all the equipment and the people and the funds where I could travel all over the world, then we could do a lot more research. We can offer a lot more programs, publicly for people. We can bring the crystal skulls to them. And these guys keep telling me, oh, some of these special skulls that are known today, a few of them are going to find their way to your center, so that when you start, kind of like traveling around the world and sharing, then you'll have these skulls to share. Plus, with the sister centers, see, it's so clear in my mind how this is going to work. It's just literally amazing. With the sister centers, all I have to do, like we have one in the Virgin Islands. So I already talked to the owner. I said, when we get this all set up, do you want us to come and bring our crystal skull, like weekend event, and have maybe some indigenous shamans too, because they're connected to the skulls? So for me, if the people are looking at the screen where it says a home where all your dreams can come true, that's what I feel the center is going to be. It's number one for the people working for us. The question that we're going to be asking them to decide how they're going to help us. What makes your heart sing? They need to know the answer to that. If they don't know the answer to that, then I can't bring them into our extended family. Because my idea is when somebody has contact with our center, that everybody's doing what they love. So they're going to come into this high vibration, loving vibration, people sharing their child, and they're not going to want to leave. And some of them are going to say, hey, I want to be a part of this. How can I be a part of this? Or some will just be members. So anyone watching this video, my message is, if you feel an affinity, and you may not even know why you feel the affinity, that you want to talk with us more about this center, then feel free to do so. And we already have, I think, 3 people who have joined us that already have, like you, Andy, they have their own online shows. So what that means is we won't have to create an online show. We'll just go to them and say, hey, we have a special guest. And do you want to do the interview? You know, and the only thing we'll ask is just say that the center's involved. Or if a sister, like the center in the Virgin Islands, which is called Light and Love, I say to them, hey, we don't want to change anything that you're doing, but you can pick from any of the products or services that we create that you want to offer, and just let people know that you're a member and give them the website so that they can connect to us if there are other things, you know, we're doing which you're not doing. So that's kind of like my vision for this. But I think personally that what I'm talking about, this is the relationship that's going to happen between many, many centers all over the world. So in other words, if somebody's not a sister center, we may be in alliance with them. And we might say, hey, we have this project that's come to us, but we're missing some pieces. And you have those pieces. Do you want to work on this together? And I think because of this feeling of working together and cooperation that's going to come in the future, things are going to get done so powerfully. The world as we know it, we're not going to be able to recognize it. Because, you know, if you have access to all this advanced technology that's been withheld from us and everybody's working together, and we're going to have contact, absolutely, with various galactic civilizations who are very spiritual. You know, they love us. They see us as their younger brothers and sisters or their cousins. You know, I know the Pleiadians for sure are definitely going to be involved with us. I think the Arcturians too, but the problem with the Arcturians is their vibration is higher than we are right now. So I don't think they can come down here, but we can have telepathic contact. But maybe when we go into 5D, this is what everybody talks about. We're moving from 3D to 5D. Then it'll be easier to have that contact with them. So this is what the center's about. And for people who want to know more about it, I guess they can just send me an email, Crystal Skull Explorers. Oh, there's our email. That's right. I forgot we have it on the page there. So if you write down this page that Andy's showing you, you know, in the browser there, our email address is on there, our Telegram is on there, and our Rumble channel is on there. The Telegram and Rumble is the main way that we're sharing information. So this is what I recommend. But, you know, my personal email, crystalskullexplorers@gmail.com too. You can send me an email. I could send you all this stuff. So that's the center. That's the skulls. Where do you want to go next, Andy?
Wow, that's a lot of information, Joshua. Oh my goodness. You know, through my own experience seeing UFOs and stuff like that, I can totally see exactly where you're coming from with this because I had an amazing a series of UFO sightings myself, which I think led me in the direction of what I'm doing right now. So I can see how this would lead you exactly down the path you're taking here.
Right. And one of the things that these column guides, brother, sister, have said to me is your center is going to become a communication point for our information, because probably the challenge is going to be And this isn't said to dishonor any person, but it's going to take us time to go into this higher space. You know, most people are still sleeping. They're not going to be ready for all the advanced technologies and information which our galactic brothers and sisters have. It has to come kind of like piecemeal and through individuals like us who have already been prepared for this. Okay. But what I see that the center is going to be involved in, this is what they tell me. And I'm very excited about this. And we've actually already done this on our Rumble video channel with two spiritual mediums. One spiritual medium has had an Arcturian from the Council of 13 talking through her, and the other medium has had Heltor, a Pleiadian, speaking through him. I think that we're going to become a center for their information and then putting it in a way that everybody can understand it, you know, like their wisdom, their knowledge, etc. Plus, I've also had visions where I see myself in the future standing on the stage doing a presentation with a Pleiadian next to me. Okay, and then people are not afraid because they have a human being standing with a galactic, both doing a presentation together. So I see us also doing that. But, you know, there's going to be many, many races that we're going to have contact with. It's just these are the ones that we're more familiar with or possibly have affected past humanity the most, and that's why we know of them. So definitely we will be involved with UFOs as well. And what I tell people is the children of the future, and I'm talking about 2037 to 2040. I have a guy named Arjas, and Arjas says, I'm you, Joshua, in your future. Oh, really? Can you tell me what happens between now and then? I'm sorry, I can't tell you. I won't, then you don't become me. So that's the only thing, but I can show you the future. So the children of the future will already accept that galactics are walking amongst us. That will be normal for them. Okay. It's going to take a little time to get used to that. Now, I'm sure, and I've heard from other people, and I can't remember the name of the group. There was one guy who was really riveted who says that, you know, this group works with the galactics, that some of the galactics have sacrificed being in their higher vibrational state to be human, to walk amongst us so that they can be here. And other ones, like Pleiadians, according to Heltor, some Pleiadians have taken a special training so that they can exist in the lower vibrational frequency we are compared to them. So they're able to do that. So I think there are probably some galactics that are walking amongst us that we look at them and we think, oh, that's a human. It's really not. It's an extraterrestrial. Plus, the other thing the Arcturian is reminding me of is that breakaway civilization, some people have talked about this, human beings that used to live on the earth that had, you know, advanced technology to go to other worlds. This is going to be some of the people we have contact with too, who have very advanced civilization. Now, I don't know why I'm being guided to do this because you gave me freedom to talk about this, but I'm going to get into a very controversial subject right now. And I'm doing this because I'm hoping the next person that I interview for the center who says she is a super soldier, that there may be some clarity that comes from this, is we have all been brought up to believe that we live on a globe, on a planet that circles around the sun with other planets in a solar system. And that this is how it works. This is what we've been taught, and every movie we see and every TV show we see shows this. However, last year, I started being overwhelmed with information related to the controversial theory of flat Earth. You know something about flat Earth, right, Andy?
Yeah. Also, there's another theory that the Earth is actually much, much, much bigger than people think it is, and it can be mistaken for being flat
Okay.
by its size.
Right. Now, that part of flat Earth is that, well, let's just talk about the basic idea of flat Earth, what it says compared to what we were taught. And then I'll explain what I think you're discussing too. So in the idea of flat Earth is we are not on a round planet. And there is a mathematical formula that anybody can do that shows that that's true, that it can't be round. We are, and I'm going to talk about this because this was the first thing that came to me that sold me. okay? Because I'm kind of a mathematical, little bit scientific person. So if we live on a round globe at the equator, which is at the, the largest part of our world, that distance, the circumference of the Earth is supposed to be like 25, is it 25,000 or 2,500?
25,000, I think.
25,000 miles. Okay. Now, mathematically, if the globe is circular, if we look into the horizon, the arc of the circle of the globe should block our view from what we see in the horizon. And the mathematical formula for this arc is for every, so in other words, you're at a starting point and you're looking at the horizon. For every mile squared that you move away from yourself times 8 inches, that's how much circular blockage there would be. So if we went 6 miles away, that would be 8 times 36, which is 288 inches. That's 24 feet, okay? However, if I go to a beach and I was to take my camera with a fairly good zoom, most cameras today have a good zoom, and zoom in on a boat that's 6 miles away, I should not be able to see it straight on, right? By that form. But I do. If it's 10 miles away, I still see it. If it's 20 miles away, I still see it straight on. 30 miles away, I still see it straight on. So the mathematical formula for the arc of the Earth is invalidated. So this to me was a key. Wait a second here, something's not right. Now, the next thing is, I looked at various videos. I talked to one lady who interviewed a pilot. And when the pilots go up into the sky, they go up like 30, 40,000 feet. That's pretty high. They should be able to see in the horizon a circular shape, but they don't. It's flat. As a matter of fact, there's some people who have sent up a balloon,
Yes.
120,000 feet, and it doesn't see anything flat, circular. It sees flat. Okay, what's that about? That doesn't make any sense. So this is the second thing that came up for me that says, wait a second, maybe flat Earth, maybe there's something about flat Earth. Now, coming to what you talked about, we have to talk about what the Bible talks about, which is the firmament. Okay, many people think the firmament represents a dome structure that totally surrounds the Earth. Now, what's the proof of that? There's a video, and it's on our Flat Earth video channel too, if anybody wants to look at this, where a group of people, not professional, amateurs, created a rocket. They sent it up 73 miles into the air. 73 miles is far beyond 40,000 feet. And all of a sudden, it totally stops. It's got a camera on there, and it just stops. It's hanging in the sky. What's that about? So, and then the other thing is, if you look at many other ancient cultures, look at their picture of the world, they all have what looks like a dome over the Earth. So what's that about?
Yeah.
So these are, so I'm not trying to tell people watching this, hey, you should believe in flat Earth, but I'm giving you 3 clues that the theory we've been taught about space, something's wrong. Something doesn't make sense, okay? We have some physical proof that what we've been taught does not work, okay? Now, going forward with what you said, I believe that outside of the dome of the known Earth, which are all the continents that we see on the map, are more land masses with another dome and possibly a third dome. So that means our world is much larger than we've been taught. As a matter of fact, I've seen they have some kind of, it's not a picture, it looks like it was handcrafted, of a map of the Earth, and it shows in the United Nations these other land masses. As a matter of fact, again, so when I hear this, I try to think, well, can I find something in the early 1900s? See if I can remember this. This is what I hate the most about being 67, my memory. I know exactly what I want to talk about, but I can't remember the name. The Iron Republic. Okay, that's the name of a book. It's called The Iron Republic. And what happened is there's this ship. Now, this also would explain something about Antarctica, which they don't want us to know,
Right.
right? Right? Is this guy has this boat and they go to Antarctica. Now, this is in the early 1900s, so we don't have the police force. They don't want anyone going to Antarctica. If you take a boat, if you fly there, they will intercept you and arrest you or move you off. Why is that? What are they hiding there? Okay, so maybe this book has a clue to that. So the Iron Republic is this boat goes to the Antarctic and they find some passageway through the ice of the Antarctic and they keep sailing beyond it. And all of a sudden they come to this island and these people, and they never heard of them before. It's called the Iron Republic. So in other words, this island or landmass does not exist on the known Earth map that we have. So I think that somehow there was an opening in Antarctica that they were allowed to go and they met these other people that are one of these land masses that's beyond the dome. Okay. Now, this is interesting because in the 1960s, they say that the United States government was sending up all these nuclear missiles, and there's a name for the project which I can't remember, doing crazy stuff, sending it up there. Why were they doing that? Well, could it be they were trying to get through the dome and it's such advanced dome that it's impenetrable and only very advanced galactics? Because I had a lady who was telepathically communicating with her Pleiadian family talk about they knew the codes to get through the barrier. They knew the codes to get through the barrier. Or Heltor, who is also another Pleiadian, said, normally when we come to Earth, we go through your stargates. We don't come through space because I think outside of the dome is like what Star Trek, not Deep Space Nine, Janeway Star Trek. I can't remember the name of it. I'm really bad. That's Star Trek. Your people will know which one I'm talking about with Janeway. They encountered a race that came from fluidic space. I'm thinking that outside of the dome, okay, if we're not on a globe, but we're in this domed area, which is flat, that there is like fluidic space. It's like kind of like water or a liquid. And if that's true, then that means the world, another world could be like right next to our world. Like, like on Christmas, you have these um, glass bell jars where there's snow and everything. It
Yeah.
could be our world is like that. And then there's another world to our left, another world to our right, another world on top of us, another world to the bottom of us. And we're not coming through space. We're going through the Stargate portals, or these advanced races know how to like teleport themselves here, maybe. Because some of the galactic races I've talked to, they say that through the power of the mind, since time and space doesn't really exist, they can project themselves wherever they want to go, you know? And I think this happens to people, like if you talk to a medium and you talk to people that live in spirit, they're not in a physical world, they'll say that, yeah, we just think about something. Like, let's say if my father who passed away, I want to check on my son, he's doing some interesting stuff, and he thinks about me, then he can project himself and watch what I'm doing. Okay. And I feel the same thing with him too. I think about him and I kind of immediately in my mind's eye start seeing him doing something. He's much younger than when he passed away. He was in his 90s. He's having a great time. Okay. Especially because he was like a scholar. He always liked to read. Well, he's got access to information that's beyond what we can even imagine for the
Hmm.
existence of the universe there. So I can imagine he's having a wonderful time. And, he's not in pain anymore and he's clear of mind because he had Alzheimer's. So he wasn't there at the end, which was really sad. Um, so I think these things that I'm talking about, like the true nature of our world and who we are spiritually and our contact with our galactic brothers and sisters. This is the future we're moving toward. And this is what I feel our center is being prepared for, is to help to educate all of humanity with other centers, with the galactics, about who we truly are and where we're headed toward. So I'm very excited about this, but I know that there's so much more to the existence of who we are that we don't know, okay, that we can't even imagine, okay? So I just feel fortunate that, you know, I've come across this. Now, I'm being led to talk about, and I hope this doesn't shut you down, about the COVID, okay? Because I know that some people when they start talking about it. So I'll try to, I won't say that word. I'll just say that's the word I'm talking about. So we don't have a problem for you. In 2020, when this crazy stuff started happening, um, I sat very close to where this computer was. I think the room was organized differently then. And I remember saying inwardly, you know, I want to know the truth about all these things that are going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I remembered that. And then all of a sudden, people start sending me videos. And then I got onto Telegram. And it's like every day I find Telegram gives the best information. I'm constantly checking what are they talking about, because they're talking about the things that are going on behind the scenes that we don't hear in the media. And then the next aspect of this, once that started happening, then I started to remember an experience I had, which is talked about in one of my free ebooks, which we'll get into later. It's called Messages from Argus. That's my future self, Argus. Is when I lived in Las Vegas in 2000, I just moved there from California. I was walking down a main street, and in Las Vegas, they drive like, 55, 65 on their main streets in the city.
Wow.
Okay. They go really fast. And all of a sudden, I'm headed to McDonald's. This is my period of time where I don't know about what food I should not eat. Okay. Definitely, you don't want to eat McDonald's. There's bad rumors about what's in that food, and I'm not going to say what it is. But I hear a loud screech, and I always feel like I'm protected, right? So I don't look back, and the next thing I know, I wake up briefly, and I'm in a hospital bed, strapped down, and the doctor's asking me, "Do you remember the truck that hit you?" Okay, so I don't know what's going on. Then I lose consciousness. I was in a coma for 3 days, and I come back. But I started to remember since then. This is in 1990.
Mm-hmm.
So what I know happened to me, and I must have agreed before I was born, is I went to a galactic meeting. It was like on a different dimension. All kinds of beings were there. Other people like me, probably in our light bodies, okay, were there. And what they were doing is, it was like in the front of the room is this, huge 3D screen, and they're showing the Earth, and they're talking about how they can help us to evolve spiritually. And um, so basically, I saw it all. I saw it all. Somewhere in my consciousness is the memory of what is going to happen and what has been happening. But then I remember when it was time for me to come back, and I was there to give feedback to their ideas of what's going to work. Because if you don't live here, and you may have the greatest ideas, but it may not be feasible for humans. Okay. It might be too scary, or we might not understand it, or it might cause more harm than good. Okay. So they had some humans like me, and I must have agreed to be there to give feedback. But I remember when I was coming back, I was told, look, you can't remember what you saw. However, we'll tell you that as things start happening in your so-called present, then you'll start to remember. Okay. So this is very significant. So I think when I'm saying I want to know what's going on, I was saying to whoever I was with in this experience, or who's watching over me after I came back, that I'm ready. I want to know the truth. I want to start remembering what I saw. So I knew right away that this thing I'm not allowed to talk about was completely false.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that all the people who were having problems with it was completely false. However, I did understand that what was happening in China was true. In other words, the city where supposedly it started, they turned on the 5G, and I think they injected people with something before they turned on the 5G, and then all of a sudden they had all these people that had problems with this thing I'm not allowed to talk about.
Right.
Okay. But once it got outside of China, people were saying 99.2 or 3% of the people recovered from it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I personally, and this is very strange to me, instead of having a hard time once it started, we had situations that happened to us at the end of 1999. So we've lived fairly comfortably. Okay. We haven't been that affected by it. Neither my wife nor myself had any fear about this. We weren't concerned about wearing, the so-called mask or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just knew that, this was to get people to be afraid, to lose their livelihood, and, probably to get rid of a lot of people on the planet. Okay. However, I knew none of this was true. And then I start seeing videos that I would share, or then on Telegram, where people started talking about what's really going on. So should we talk about what's really going on?
Yeah.
Okay. Number one, the war in the Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big sign that there is an undeclared war going on between the forces of light and dark, and the forces of light represented by Russia, which the media is not portraying them in this way. They're
Right.
taking out the dark. That the Ukraine, after the Second World War, the Ukraine became a key country where they start doing all these terrible things that we're starting to hear about. I don't want to focus on the terrible things, okay, because it's already enough here.
Yeah.
And people are already becoming aware that, it looks like there's some people, that are orchestrating all these challenges that we're having. But the other thing that it shows me is, number one, the light is winning. Russia is looking like it's going to become the first country to adopt JSARA, which is the new economic program, because they're backing their rubles with gold.
Right.
Okay. So the key part of the new economic system is that it will be acid backed. That's the term they're using, which means precious minerals. And the
Mm-hmm.
same is going to happen. And there are people reporting that work for banks that purportedly have seen the new currency for the US. They're calling all these currency rainbow currencies.
Mm-hmm.
Ours will be United States Treasury note or United States note. I think they're going to use both. So it'll be both a physical form and a digital form. Okay. But
Mm-hmm.
Russia is already starting. China is already starting. India is already starting. Brazil and South Africa and other countries are joining them. They're calling it BRICS,
Right.
which is creating a new um, currency that will be used on the planet. So the war in the Ukraine and what Russia is doing with the currency, these are signs that the light has already won.
Right.
And slowly but surely, the positive new systems, the new technology, the new financial system, the quantum internet, the med beds, all of these things we're very close to starting to have it happen everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Now, another thing which I saw on Telegram, and I think when I resonate with something, it's because I saw it during my coma experience.
Mm-hmm.
What they're saying is that there's going to be new lockdowns coming, but this isn't a bad thing, because what's happening is the military, which has to basically take charge, because in all the countries, the current leadership is not doesn't care about the people, and they're not following their own laws that they created, like in our Constitution and laws that President Trump set up before he uh, allowed himself, let's say, to step aside. He hadn't needed to do that, so people could see what Biden or Biden is doing.
Yeah.
Okay, which is totally ridiculous.
Uh-huh.
um, the military. needs to finish, cleaning up from people who have created hideous crimes against humanity.
Right.
That's the easiest way to say it. So if anyone watching this, you find that they're trying to do this, do not be concerned about it. They want you in your house to be safe so they can go ahead and finish this up. But I have been told by these galactics beings telepathically, they say sometime in this year, there will be some major events that everyone can see. And the Arcturians suggested it could be the Pleiadians showing up in their ships all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just to give an example. Um, there will be some major events that happen. And once this happens, we'll never go back to having a world where people are afraid, are sick. There won't be sick people anymore. But it's going to take time for us to integrate with all these new technologies.
Yes.
It's not going to happen right away. So I think first it looks like we'll have a new internet, the med beds, a new mobile system, and the new financial system. And that's going to be quite a bit right there, quite a bit. And one of the things that I read, which I resonate with this, with the new computer system, the new internet and financial system. So like when you go to log on to that computer, it's going to recognize your DNA and only you're going to be able to get in. Okay. If it says, nope, this isn't Joshua, this isn't Andrew, it's not going to let that person get in. That's how advanced it's going to be. And all the systems will be fully protected because I guess the old financial system, they call it the SWIFT system, and the old internet, you know, the the elite, let's call them, they could go into those systems and steal anything they wanted, and there's nothing you could do to stop them. That will not be happening anymore. So those are a couple of clues I think that show us that we're moving in that direction. And the other clue would be they're talking about the emergency broadcast system.
Yes.
If that happens, where they take charge of all of our computers, our TVs, our mobiles, and they start broadcasting, and you only get that, and then they start showing you the truth, you know that it's over. Now, there's one other thing that came up which I really like, even though this person is being challenged. Um, Carrie Cassidy, who interviews all the whistleblowers.
Yes.
So this is a really good show for people to watch because she brings out great. She had this guy called Bill Wood, but some people say he had another name. He claims that he worked on Project Looking Glass.
Mm-hmm.
For people who don't know what Project Looking Glass is, apparently from the advanced technology that the military and governments have from the Stargate system, they were able to create a device which either has the ability to project potential futures, based on what you're asking about or what you're thinking about. But there's another group, which I can't remember the name, that I watched that said it's not projecting potential futures, it's showing you parallel Earths.
Mm-hmm.
And if it shows you parallel Earths, then it's going to show you every conceivable possibility that there is, because that's how that works. So whatever way this system works, according to Bill Wood in 2012, this device will only show one future, the great awakening of humanity. That's
Mm-hmm.
it. So
Mm-hmm.
in other words, let's say if the elite who are using it say, we don't like that future, let's try to see if we create different scenarios, we can change that. They couldn't change it at all. Nothing they could do, no action they could take, according to Mr. Wood, would change this future. So for me, this is another proof that where we're headed, nothing can change it. It's God's will that we're going to see total peace and harmony.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing that Bill Wood said about this, which was quite interesting, was he said, it's like a chess game. And really, that's what's going on right now. The light and the dark, you know, they're faking out each other. They're trying to fake out each other. Each is giving, news. Okay, we're going to do this, but they're not really going to do it, so that it fakes each other out. But we call them the White-Headed Alliance, which represents the group on the light side. They're using the looking glass, and they could see what the other side's going to do step by step by step. Okay, so they already knew in the U.S. election they were going to sabotage it. They
Right.
knew it. They knew completely what they were going to do. And Trump was was trying to tell us, the mail-in ballots. He was trying to warn us they're going to use that, which
Yes.
they definitely did.
Yeah.
But according to Bill Wood, when you have two chess masters playing, and I really like this because it really explains it very simply, it gets to a point in the game where only two possibilities can happen. That's how good they are, because they
Mm-hmm.
can see all the moves. They either know they can't beat each other, it's going to be a tie. There are no more moves left where either side can win. Or they know maybe 10 moves ahead, 20 moves ahead, who's going to win and who's going to lose, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what's happening right now. We're at a point in this chess match where the light has already made all the right moves, and the dark still has things it can do, but no matter what it tries to do, it will not affect the final outcome. So the key is, if people watching this agree, because I see you nodding, so you already know this,
Oh
Andy, I
yeah.
know this. Okay. Um, what can we do to help our family members and friends who are sleeping, who don't believe any of what we're talking about? Well, there's going to be certain people who will be open. And the way that I see it, although people can feel it energetically too, is I look in their eyes, and if I see there's an openness within the eyes, like energetically open, then I'll try to ask a question and get permission that I can share with, the individual some more information. Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe I'll say, I saw in Star Trek they had this story, or I went to this movie, or I read this book, or I saw this TV show. Because the key is you need permission, all right? As much as we want to help all of the members of our family, we cannot force it upon them.
No.
So all we can do is make a suggestion, ask a question, or whatever. Now, sometimes, like what happens, like when you do a video or you interview someone, people contact you, they're asking you a question, they're giving you permission to answer the question. So the key that I say for people who see that this future is going to happen is always be hopeful for the people you talk to. They'll say, well, this is going on, that. Yeah, but I see things in a different way. Would you like to know how I see them? And then if the person says yes, it means they're open to look at another possibility. So always give a positive outlook, or see in your mind's eye, this is the future of our world is going to, because if you do that, the geometric power of our minds working together, we help to bring that reality to happen faster, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just or share information with people, like, on Facebook. I saw two really amazing little graphics that people have come on Telegram. So I posted both of them on Facebook, hoping that, some of the people who follow my stuff will see it and it'll inspire them, or they'll share it with the people that they know. So there's a lot of different ways that we can help to prepare people for this future. But the main thing is we need to stay positive. Okay, not give our power away to fear. Don't listen to the main media. I never watch the news, or if I watch the news, like sometimes I'll go on to CNN, their website. It's because I want to see what is the dark side saying about what's going on in the world versus the light side on Telegram.
Right.
Okay, I'm curious to see how they're doing it. Oh yeah, another clue of things going on. How many famous people or politicians all of a sudden now are getting COVID or resigning?
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. There's so many of them. Okay, so this is another clue that the old system is being dismantled. This is what I think it means symbolically. It's being dismantled as these people step down, and the systems for humanity, for the people, are starting to slowly ease in behind the scenes. So these are just some clues I'm thinking about, some ways to look at it. I think that are important. Another thing I mentioned to you that I've looked at is Tartaria. Maybe we should talk about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So these things we just talked about are showing us that the world as we know it is changing and it's going in a more positive way. But what about the history of our world? Were we taught the right history in school? No, I don't think so. Um, and there's something that's come up that a lot of people are fascinated now. And again, for me, Tartaria and flat Earth only came last year. Okay, but Katrina, my wife, she told me about Tartaria a couple of years ago, but I didn't know what to make of it because she's telling me in the 1800s there was some strange things going on, and there were buildings that were buried in mud and all kinds of weird stuff, and the history we taught didn't make sense. So I didn't understand that, but she planted a seed with me. So what happened is there's a guy out there. His name is Iwar Anar,
Yeah.
Anan,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he's been releasing these videos mostly through Telegram, but on Telegram he has links to YouTube and so on. It's just YouTube or any of the normal video um, social media platforms. They're not going to promote this, all right?
No, no.
Okay, but I saw he had his first one was a 5 hour video. It was called the true history of flat Earth or something like that. Okay. And so, I'm watching it, and he starts talking about this advanced culture that was like only 200 some years ago that existed on the earth. And I'm going, this is wild stuff. So I start watching it, and what convinced me are the advanced buildings that these people created. Some of them still exist, not all of them. Most of them were, let's say, the elite or whoever's thinks they're in charge of our world. They tried destroying them. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at
Uh-huh.
the history in the 1800s, many major cities here in the United States had all these fires that just broke out all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago, where I was born, 1871 was when they had their big fire. They had another one in 1874. Then they had the World's Fair in 1893 on the south side of Chicago. 200 very advanced buildings that didn't even look like they were made in an American style, looked more Arabian or European
Mm-hmm.
buildings. And then they destroyed all of them but three. Why was that?
Yep.
So in other words, there's things in the past that don't make sense. And I was really stupid. I saw this one time on Telegram. Somebody showed a copy of an article printed here in the United States in a major newspaper, 1852. Somebody talking about all these ruins, these huge cities, these ruins of huge cities that existed in the western part of the United States.
Wow.
Because in 1852 we hadn't been involved. So I'm sure Chicago was one of these places that
Mm-hmm.
had, huge buildings, unbelievable, that, nobody could explain where they came from. San Francisco, I saw pictures of the buildings in San Francisco before the earthquake of 1906. The
Mm-hmm.
same situation where, people just started going into San Francisco like in the 1870s and 1880s. And all of a sudden, there's this huge city they built of advanced structures. No, they didn't build those buildings. They were already there when they got there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the whole point of Tartaria is certain churches, cathedrals, probably synagogues for Jewish um, government buildings that still exist were repurposed from the Tartarians. And they said, oh, we made them in the 1600 or 1700. What about the Arc of Triumph in Paris?
Mm-hmm.
That that is a huge arc, very sophisticated artwork created on it. They said they made it in the 1800s. They didn't have tools to make such an advanced structure. I'm not even sure even today if we could duplicate the the uh, the forms that are on the stone that we find there. Plus, the other thing with the Arc of Triumph of Paris, if you took a picture and looked high above, it looks like it's a computer circuit board.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the way all the other structures are around it.
Yes.
So according to EWR&R, what was happening is a lot of these buildings, they had an advanced technology that was able to go into the ether of the earth, that energy field, and pull free electricity.
Mm-hmm.
This was a free electrical system.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a sign of what we're going to be going back to. Also, a lot of these buildings, they have doors that are so high. I think the Tartarians themselves were probably like 10, 12 feet tall. They were very tall, much taller than us.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen some videos where they've shown people like in the late 1800s, these men and women very tall that still existed. So, so the theory is that someone took out the Tartarians and did a reset.
Mm-hmm.
And they believed that it was a flood because there are still a lot of buildings where there are floors that are in the ground, half up and half down.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't make any sense. Why would somebody have a window, for example, that's half covered by the ground? It's because these buildings were covered by mud. This is according to their theory. And they started digging them out like in the early 1800s. Another thing that EWR shows, although I think he changed this, but still I think this is correct, is why were there all these, why can't I think of call them children without parents? You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking? There was a tremendous amount of children that were in these institutions without parents,
Mm-hmm.
and then they repopulated huge cities. EWR shows in this video um, black and white photographs like of Moscow and St. Petersburg and other cities in Europe where the buildings are there, but there are no people. And then all of a sudden in the late 1870s, 1880s, all of a sudden there are people, but they have very primitive technology, horse and buggy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So again, this is a sign, I think, that the history of our world, we have not been taught it correctly. Some people are even saying Atlantis, which existed, wasn't 12,000 years ago. It might have been 2,000 years ago. That, that Tartaria may have been, came from Atlantis, may have been connected to Atlantis somehow.
Mm-hmm.
So, so the whole point of kind of what I'm alluding to, and this is what's going to upset a lot of people, I think, is almost everything that we were taught in school may not be true at all.
Right.
Our history, the nature of our world, even things that are happening now, they're not telling us the truth of what's going on. So, you know, like there was one comment I saw where it said it might take some people 6 months to get over that, or they may
Yeah.
never get over it.
Right.
They may never be able to get over it. So this is why I salute what you're doing, Andy, you know, to try to make people aware of the spiritual nature of who we are and some of these things that are happening that are starting to come out now. And I think that this type of information is being released because it's trying to help people to prepare for a completely different world that we're headed. It's going to be a wonderful world. And if I'm seeing it correctly through Argus eyes, who's my future self in 2040, let's say, it's going to be absolutely amazing. Dancing and singing in the streets, meeting a stranger you've never spoken to, and immediately feeling a heart connection and hugging them and becoming the best of friends. Because possibly in another lifetime, you knew this individual very well. This is usually what happens to me when I was out there. Of course, I stopped doing this because it's too crazy right now. But when I was out there doing presentations, I would meet 2 or 3 people at a presentation. I say, I know this person. I like this person. I have a good feeling. It's like this. I know this person very well. It's part of my extended family. And so, you know, the future that I see, it's just going to be absolutely amazing. And hopefully, you know, the things that I've been talking about may help some of you viewers, you know, to have an idea. So crystal skulls will become a key part. They have incredible knowledge and energies that they've stored, which will be available to us. We'll have contact with our galactic brothers and sisters and their wisdom and their knowledge that they'll be sharing. We'll have very advanced technologies that'll make life very fun and easy for all of us, and much, much more. So this is what I think is ahead. This is not fantasy. I'm not making these things up. I think that these are all parts of where we're going to and where we're headed. So,
Why don't you show those links that you wanted people to see about your free ebooks, which are very interesting.
okay, so let me explain first, and then I'm going to show some slides.
Sure.
So during this period of time where I was sitting and not doing what I'm normally doing, I started writing free ebooks. So we talked about Tartaria, so I have a free ebook on Tartaria. We talked about flat Earth, so I did one only 500 pages on flat Earth. If you really want to know, it's like jam-packed with all kinds of information to challenge what we learned. A free ebook on crystal skulls. Are we living on a computer simulation? That could be a possibility too. So I have a free ebook on that. In 2001, in May, I felt like I need to share with people what's happening behind the scenes. So I have a book. I think it's still pretty valid, the things I was talking about then. And what's the other one? And then, of course, these messages from Argus, what the future looks like, and my experience, my coma experience. I have that one. So give me a moment to bring this up.
Sure.
My hand shakes a little bit, so I have to do strange stuff here to share my screen. It's going fairly smoothly so far. So tell me if you see this. Okay, and then,
Oh, yeah.
okay, but it's not doing what I wanted it to do. I need to share the, stop moving. I actually had it, but I picked the wrong one. Oh, it's already doing that. So that's why I picked the wrong one. So this is what I'm moving toward. So stop share. Hold on. I picked the wrong screen to share. Let me try again. Okay, so this one should be it. Please. There it is. Thank God. Okay, it shows us we're all human and we still make mistakes. Okay, so I actually made a video on these free ebooks. And because I did that, I thought, yeah, let's make some PowerPoint screens so people can see stuff. Okay, so go to the next one. There we go. Okay, so these are the free ebooks again, just a little more detail on them. They're all in a PDF format. So the Crystal Skulls comes from 2018. And there's 100 pages there. So it defines crystal skulls, talks about our experiences, has some different resources in there. The Are we living in a computer simulation? That's basically a few years ago when Katrina went to visit her family, I start watching YouTube videos and they guided me to all these videos about being in a computer simulation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think most of them are still there. They didn't shut them down. And the messages from Argus is about those two spiritual experiences I have that definitely show we're going to world peace by 2037, 2040, and talks a little bit about Project Looking Glass, which we talked about. The high level overview one is the one from May of 2021, which includes some insights from Gene Decode, who has become a world famous whistleblower that many people are following. I got a chance to interview him 3 times. So some of the comments come from him. Then we have the one on Tartaria, if it's true or not, and Flat Earth basically saying there's no way we could be living on a globe. So the next slide is going to talk about how you can get these free ebooks. So this page, if you stop the video, or you send me an email at crystalskullexplorers@gmail.com, which you see on the page there. 3 of the free ebooks you can download from the page that I have shown there, crystalskullexplorers.multiscreensite.com/ebooks.
Mm-hmm.
And the other 3, Tartaria, Flat Earth, and High Level Overview, you will have to send me an email and I'll attach them to an email for you. So
Okay.
that's how you can get those books. And you can ask for any one from me, or you can ask for all of them. Doesn't make any difference. Okay, I went forward. Let's see. And then this is good just to contact us related to the crystal skull. Again, and I think the next one has again, what you were showing on the webpage about the center. So our main website for crystal skulls is cse.crystalskullexplorers.com. The email address I've already given to you before. If you might like to get your own crystal skull, we work with this fabulous carver in India, and he's made replicas. We call them Geronimo Juniors of one of the skulls, one of our personal skulls, which is called Geronimo Golden Eagle Eye. It holds the indigenous energies. A lot of people like that skull, so we have these replicas, can make them of any size and different type of gemstones through the Indian carver. And that's the Rumble video channel we have for the Crystal Skull Explorers. So again, if you stop this video, you can, copy down any of these links that you want.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the next one is on the center. Right. So again, this is the center's information, the Telegram channel, the Rumble video channel we have, which I keep adding to. So I'm going to have two other special guests that I'm hoping to interview in August that are going to blow people away. One is a super soldier, and another one is channeling from the Ponti, which is a galactic race most people aren't familiar with that are also helping us. So
Mm-hmm.
that should be interesting. There's a web page we have that basically, which is the page that Andy showed you before. That's the email for the center. And the last one is I joined a group in Italy called X-Gates, and that just happens to be where they're posting articles that I'm writing. So if you want to check that out, you can check that out. X-Gates is our family in Italy representing the center I spoke to you about. So they're holding the energy, and then we're going to work with them to build that center and also advance their research that they're doing into the paranormal. So, all right, so that's my information. So let me stop sharing here.
Okay, I'm
Okay,
available for interviews too. You know, if you get going, you can call me for an interview because I've had some amazing experiences as well.
okay. So
All right.
that might be something we do for the center as well, an exchange of interviews,
Mm-hmm.
talk about some of your experiences. So I think we pretty much covered most of the subjects that I wanted to cover for today. So unless you have any final questions you want to ask, Andy,
Um,
about,
I just know that it's hard to put these things into words sometimes, but for the people out there, if when you go on these mystical lifelong journeys, it's a process. You
yeah,
know, it doesn't all happen in the snap of a finger. You
right.
know, it's experience after experience after experience, and you have to process those and put them together, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm still doing it with the crystal skulls. I know I have many more journeys. And the blue skull, which I just mentioned briefly, that is only a vision that I see, it's going to show up one day in our reality. And I don't know how that's going to happen. So that
Mm.
will be, adventure. And it told me I had to write the book and start talking about it. So, you go out on a limb. If you're going to write about your personal, spiritual, or paranormal experiences, you can't prove any of it. I can't prove this blue skull exists, but I'm looking at it in my mind's eye right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's real for me. So um, all you can do is just share your experiences with each other, and you take from each other what has value. So the same thing today, we've covered a lot of different subjects. So whoever's watching this, just take whatever has a value for you, or come back with me if you want to do your own personal research, which is really what you have to do. i did
Yeah,
that I
yeah.
did that with Tartarian flat earth. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't sure, do I believe it or not? Well, let me do my own research, and there was enough information out there that I thought, yeah, there's something to these things. You can't just dismiss it because the so-called experts who are not experts are saying, yeah, this is the truth. Well, how come your mathematical equation for the circumference of the earth and looking at the horizon doesn't work? What's that about? Okay.
Right.
So you'll find there are challenges to what they tell you about, or how mankind evolved. There are people challenging that too. You know, was there a galactic race that created us? Was it the Anunnaki? I don't know, but I believe in our DNA is a lot of different galactic races. Okay, and that makes humanity unique. And I think this is the reason why a lot of souls wanted to be here now for this particular period of time, because of all this growth and changes and experiences happening.
Mm-hmm. One thing I see happening now, some people are afraid of technology. I see it as our ticket to being free of our current situation. And I see the deep state tried to use it to keep us enslaved, and the universe said, that's not going to happen. It's going to actually free them because when the dark side does something, there's an opposite reaction on the light side, right?
Yes, absolutely. So like, for example, let's just look at the internet. Okay, so the internet made available for people anywhere in the world who had access all kinds of information that they wouldn't have had available to them before. It allowed people to connect with each other almost instantaneously. But at the same time, the dark side could use the internet for promoting all of their agendas as well. So it's like everything has a light and dark side to it. And
Right.
you have to have your own discernment and say, and this is a very important message that I got from Spirit too. You have to not give your power away. And when something is immoral, doesn't feel right, say no. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to wear the mask. I'm not going to follow those procedures. I'm not going to be afraid of this. I'm not going to trust this. Like, and I don't want to belittle this because, we need the physicians and the doctors, but is it possible? And this has been suggested on Telegram. They weren't taught the right information to treat us. Okay, their medicines always have a side effect. Was that done intentionally? A side effect, so then they have to prescribe the next medicine. A side effect, so they have to prescribe the next medicine. So there's something about all of this that's not ringing true. So it's like, I am nothing to do with doctors. If I ever, become sick or ill, I just feel like I'm my own healer. I'm going to take time to relax and rest and trust that eventually I'll be well. And I think for a 67-year-old, I'm doing fairly well. I
Mm-hmm.
have my minor problems, but I never let it stop me. And I'm probably doing more things now than I did when I'm in my 30s.
Yeah.
Okay. Because, I'm so excited and I'm so passionate about, learning as much as I can and sharing it with people. So the key is you got to trust your intuition, your inner gut feeling, and don't give your power away right now. That's the key. And be open to learning more about your spiritual essence, your intuition or a dream or just something that you don't know how you know it. It's coming from inside of you. We're all children of God and we're connected to all knowledge and all information. But the other side has tried to suppress all that, by feeding us wrong foods, by giving us medicine, by teaching us wrong things, by not believing in ourselves. You need to follow what the experts tell you. No, all of that is going to shift and you'll be in charge. Each of us will be in charge of our life. And when we do what we love to do, then every job that exists on the planet will be covered. And we'll all be happy and like children, celebrating every day. Oh, I can't wait to get up to do the interview with Andy today, or get the crystal skull panel that I just did yesterday for the center. Get that up and see, how are people going to respond to that? Because the information the panel has shared was very amazing. All different people, different perceptions on crystal skulls. So it worked perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
I had a vision for it. We never did this before, and it worked perfectly. And everybody, did exactly what they were meant to do. So it was wonderful.
Well, great. Thank you for joining me today. And do you have any last words for the parting words for the guests?
Yes, I would say um, make sure that every day you have something to look forward to. Make sure that you find out what your part is to help create this peaceful planet. Um, try new things. If it doesn't work out, you get to try it again in a different way. Believe in yourself. Know that you're a child of God. And just and like we both said, when you're spontaneous, it's when God manifests through you. So see what happens around you. Like when you're with people, you may be an agent of God to help that person with a certain situation just by being yourself. And maybe some project will come to you to help to create this future. So write it down. Don't worry. This is the main thing. We always worry about, well, this is a big project. How am I supposed to do that? The center is going to be a huge project, but I'm not concerned about it because I know when it's the right time, God and the universe will provide the right people, the right resource, the right funding, and we'll know which projects we're supposed to do first. And it'll just be perfectly natural. So you could have a big project that you're holding on to, a big dream, and it may not be the right time to do it, but hold on to it because one day God's going to knock and say, okay, it's time. Are you ready? and you're going to want to go ahead and proceed with that. So that's the key for right now. Just have fun. Don't worry about things. Everything is in control by God and the light forces. And I think before the end of the year, we're going to have an amazing world that we're going to be living in, and we're going to all be excited. So that would be my final message to share.
Well, thank you for joining the show today, guy. And thank you guys for watching. I'm stumbling over my own words. I get so excited myself sometimes I can't even speak. So I love you guys and thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next show. Bye bye.